It's April 2018. This is Dave Portfleet, and we're going to talk about what's new and upcoming in the CMS. So one of the things we get asked a lot is, this is a lot of great information. You should post it on the web somewhere. And we do. If you go to the gvsu.edu/webteam, it is under this navigation item at the top, what's new. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are posted under here. Some aren't, but most are. And just a heads up, many of these features I'm going to talk about today are only available in CMS 4.1. If you're still in CMS 4, then you probably should request to upgrade so you can get some of these features. And to do that, it's on the web team site again under CMS and CMS 4.1 upgrade request. And many of you ask, well, how can I tell if I'm in CMS 4 or 4.1? If we go to gvsu.edu/htm, they're in CMS 4.0 right now. You can see these larger margins on the side, and the header doesn't go quite all the way across the screen. And if we go to the web team site, this one's at 4.1, and you can see the header goes all the way across. The fonts are a little different, fills up the frame and the window a little bit more. The navigation goes all the way across. So this is just a little bit of a visual difference, kind of matches more of the Grand Valley homepage. And I should say, when you do upgrade, we don't touch any of your content. So you don't have to do anything manually. We just upgrade to 4.1, and there's a visual difference. But again, your content isn't touched, so you don't have to do anything. We just make it look like the Grand Valley homepage a little bit more. Okay, so let's jump in. One of the first things I always show people is there's a quick shortcut to start editing a page, any of the pages on your site. So if you want to edit the content of this page, let's say, you could scroll to the bottom, and next to the page last modified date, there's this lifesaver icon. And if I click that, it actually pulls, well, it'll ask me to log in first, but if I've logged in recently, it will pull up that page in the editor, so I can immediately start editing it. Let's see, there's a few other things I like to show folks. Another one that people don't know about is under More on the left here. There's access log, and if we click that, we can actually see who's edited this page last and what they did. So we can see Daniel Slaughter modified a content page, and then Dave did before that, and Joe did before that, and Brent did before that. So we can see who's making changes to these pages. So one of the bigger differences between CMS 4 and 4.1 are the headers, and I mentioned that earlier. They're a little bit bigger. They go across the site. If we take a look at, I'm going to go to a test page real quick so we can see what the difference is. You'll see in the under headers, when you go to upload a new one, it'll actually guide you through which sizes you need, but I wanted to show you this listing of headers right now. You'll see this top one is 979 pixels wide. We can see that right there, and the rest are 2000 pixels wide. So 2000 is the new kind of standard for CMS 4.1, and 979 was what we used in CMS 4. When we upgrade your site, we actually still use those headers. We just upsize them a little bit, so sometimes they get a little bit blurry, and you can just simply delete it or re-upload it with the new size, and that'll fix that. Or you don't have to do anything, and we'll just keep displaying it. And we'll put a little note here next to it saying wrong size. So this green says displaying, it has a title, and it's the wrong size. So you might want to update that, but again, you don't have to. And then the rest, just want to show these tags. It says displaying has title, displaying specific content only, and this one's not displaying because I actually turned that one off, and I can show you how to do that. But let's start by uploading a new header, just so you can see how this process works. I'll click new header, and there's our new sizes. So you can see large, medium, and small, 2000 by 800, 2000 by 600, or 2000 by 400. A lot of people feel like 2000 by 800, so 800 pixels tall, feel like that's a little bit too much vertical space on the page. So if you would like, you can pick a smaller size. So you do 600 or 400. I also want to add that headers aren't needed on every page. In fact, in CMS 4.1, we default to no headers unless you upload one. So in CMS 4, we kind of had I think a default header that loaded on all pages. Headers aren't necessary. So if folks are digging down for information and they really need to just get to the content and get their question answered, they don't need to see, the Grand Valley Arch for the 5th time, you can actually probably just leave it off that page. And we actually encourage you to leave headers off forms and any pages that kind of have more intense content, just because it's really a distraction at that point. But on your homepage, it's always nice to feature what your department's all about, or upcoming events, or things like that. All right, so we're going to upload a new medium-sized header. I'm going to click Choose File, and then it's going to ask me where I want to grab the photo from off my hard drive. I'm going to take this Lake Michigan Hall one, click Open. I can add a title and a caption if I want, so this will overlay on top of the photo, but I'm going to skip that for now. Alternative text is required for accessibility purposes, so do your best to describe what is in the photo, usually 1 sentence or shorter description. I'm just going to put this is a photo of, and actually I'm not going to put that because that's not the proper way to do that. So if somebody comes to the site with a screen reader and they're blind, it's going to read out loud to them what they should be seeing, and a lot of their software actually already says this is a photo of. So if you write this is a photo of, it'll actually be repeated twice. So we can just type in Lake Michigan Hall on the Allendale campus. We can link that header to an existing content page if we want. I'm not going to do that right now. We can open it in a new window if we want. So if I were to fill in this title up here or caption, we can align it to the left, the right, or the bottom. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it, well, it's checked left, but there's nothing in the title, so we're not going to see anything. So this next part is where we can specify if the header shows up on all pages or just the ones I specify. So let's do that. I'm going to say this header will only show on content pages I specify it. And then we can go ahead and pick a start date when this header will start showing and an end date when it will stop showing. I'm not going to set either of those. I'm just going to hit submit. When I hit submit, that photo starts to get uploaded. It can take a second or two. And we get the photo. So remember, this original photo was at least 2,000 pixels wide on my hard drive. So now, after I upload it, actually kind of helps me through cropping it to the right size so I can drag it up and down till it looks right to me, and then I can just hit submit. And if that's a large photo, just be patient. That can take a little while. But here, now back to the list of header images, and we see this last one called, well, there's no title, but we can see it's the photo of Lake Michigan Hall. It does say displaying, but it's, since I chose specific content only, we have to actually go and pick the page that it's going to show up on. So to do that, we just go to content and we pick a page. I'm going to pick the About Us and click Edit. And then when this page loads, I'll have the title here and then this button under the title called More Options. I'm actually going to click that. And I'm going to go through some of this stuff, but I just wanted to show you at the bottom here. It says use the site's default headers, so that'll rotate through all the headers that you've uploaded. But if we want a specific one, we can just say only display specific headers that I select, and then I get a list of all the headers that I've uploaded, and I can say, okay, just this Lake Michigan Hall one will show up on this content page, and then I hit publish. So just a few other things under this More Options is meta description. So search engines use this kind of as a one sentence description of what the page is about. So I always encourage people to put one sentence description in here, and make sure you use your keywords. So if you have a few specific words that really sum up this page, and that's what you want folks to type into search engines to find this page, make sure you use the keywords here. Again, just a one sentence description, and that will help Google and other search engines quite a bit. The next one down is URL redirect. This is if this page is kind of outdated and there's content somewhere else that's more relevant, you can certainly delete this page. That's not a problem. And then when folks try to come to it in the future, they'll just get a 404 page not found. But you also can redirect them. So we could, if the content is maybe on a different site or even another page of your site, you can put the URL in this box, and then when they come to this page from now on, they won't see the content on this page. They'll just be redirected to whatever URL you plug in here. And then below that is permissions, so we can password protect pages. And I think we've gone over this in other areas of the CMS help, but you can lock this down to faculty and staff or students or create your own group. And then below that is tags. And I'm not going to get into that today, but this is a way just to organize the content on your site. We used to have folders and now we have tags. So if this content is, team bios, I can check that and hit submit. And then when I want to do a search, I can search by tags later, and it's just a quick way to find content that you've already created. So two other things I wanted to show you real quick were, again, back over on this left-hand nav. Actually, if we go back to site home, right here, this is where you get a list of all the sites that, sorry, this is the home for this specific site, the admin home. If we go here, I just wanted to point out problem reports over on the right here. So every page on your website, if I click view site here, it'll pop open a new window and I get an error. Oh, neat. And we're back. So a good opportunity to talk about our test server. So I'm on www.test.gvcu.edu, and this is a test server for a reason. We do a lot of tests on it. So sometimes it's down, sometimes you'll come across errors. Usually they're brief, but just a heads up, if you're working on a site on the test environment, you may see error messages like that every once in a while. Okay, so we're back, and I'm going to scroll to the bottom here. You'll see every content page in the CMS has this link at the bottom, report a problem with this page, and if a user were to click that, they could put in their name and email and let you know, there's a broken link here. And then when they submit that, that's actually goes into this system where you'll see another number. This will increase to number 3. So you can see there's 3 outstanding issues. If I click that, you'll see all of them listed here. We can view the individual problem, and we can simply mark it as fixed, make a note to ourselves, or we can put a message in here and I can check this box and it'll go back to the person that actually complained about the problem. So that's the report a problem. And then one other thing I wanted to show you that we get asked about a lot is if I click, so if you notice at the top I clicked CMS admin, this brings me back to the list of all the pages I have access to. And I just wanted to point out you have access to this as well, this admin lookup right here. So if I click that, I can actually find out who maintains any page or any site at Grand Valley. So if I wanted to know who works on the alumni site, I can hit submit there and I can see Kim Schmidt and Chris Barbie and Susan Howard. So if there's a broken link or something going on, then we can contact one of them and ask them what's going on. Okay, so some of the new features we've added. I'm going to start talking about modules. One thing that we've added, I'm going to go back to my list of sites here, and I'm going to go to the web team site. One thing that we've added is a way to import Sprout events into your CMS events. And actually, instead of the web team site, I'm going to pull up the FTLC site here. And if we go into their admin, this is their upcoming events module here on the left. I've clicked on, and under event settings, not a lot of people notice this, but we can click that, and then I can actually pull in all the Sprout events under any category I want. So you just have to enter it once in Sprout and then pull it over to your CMS. Next up is the faculty staff directory module. This is what it looks like on the public side. I'm on the College of Education site. It's a real nice way to organize all the staff and faculty that work in your area. We can search by name. We can search by a few other things here as well. It's alphabetical, or we can click view and get more details on any of these individuals. You can add a photo, a whole bunch of contact information, and then there's actually a lot of free-form areas where you can add teaching areas, degrees. You could really name this whatever you want and list whatever you want. So this we actually added, if I go to the admin here, a way to export this so you can bring it into Excel and manipulate that information any way you want, maybe do a mail merge or something like that. And if I click the faculty staff directory settings up here, you can see I can have first name, last name, email, a whole bunch of stuff. I actually can change the names of these labels to anything I want. So I can call this cookies if I want. And then I can decide if that's shown on the front page or not. I can actually make it required or not. I can. This is at list. It's actually will be listed on the first page. If you don't want to use it, you can uncheck it, and you can also add it as a filter at the top of the page. So a lot of settings, quite flexible, and I would encourage you to use that listing. It's quite nice. And we're always adding features to different modules. As we get requests, we try and build those out, and once we create it for one person, we can roll it out to everybody. So one request we had was to add icons to the popular pages list link, and this is actually a module. So I'm on the /adult services website. This is the popular pages module, and you can see it has an icon next to each link. And if we go into the admin area, here's again the popular pages module on the left and the different links that I've put in place. And if I click edit, I can choose from hundreds of icons. So next up, as I said, we build these modules as we get requests, and this is a fairly new one. We got asked to create a charts module. This isn't available for everyone quite yet. It's still in the testing phase. If you would like this on your site, please contact me and we can enable it and you can help us test this thing out. But right now I'm on the financial aid annual report site, so that's gvsu.edu/FAAR if you want to see what this looks like. And if we scroll down, you can see we get some pie graphs, pie charts, bar graphs, some stacked bar charts. So we can create quite a lot of different looking charts. And again, if you're interested, let me know. This is a new module. We're still testing it out. Okay, we're moving on to new chunks in the CMS. So this one's small, but thought I'd mention it. When you have multiple header sizes, so this is an H1 up here, H2, H3, it's pretty easy to tell on the public side the difference between those three, but in the admin, sometimes people were having trouble figuring out which was which, so we actually added a little label underneath the heading saying this is an H1 main heading. You are the only one that's going to see this, nobody else. It's just for administrators to know which size heading you're using. Oh, also while I'm in here, not many people know, let's say I wanted to enter a new header. If I click that, it actually adds it to the bottom, and you can drag that up anywhere you want. But also, you can drag right from the toolbar. So if I wanted a header at the top here, I can actually drag it right into this insert new row and drop it, and it'll show up right there. So it's a little bit quicker way to organize content. Also, it's sometimes hard to move things from bottom to top all the time. I did want to point out that we added a couple different video types to the video modules, or chunk, sorry. So if we add that to the page, this is the video chunk right here. If I click and drag that, and I click edit, I can now put in a YouTube, Vimeo, or Ensemble URL. I heard that Ensemble is going away, and we have a new one. So when we have that in there, we'll add that to this. But you just grab the entire URL for the video and just paste it in here, and then it'll be embedded right in your site. And one other chunk that is new is the maps chunk. So you can put a Google Map, embed a Google Map on the page of your site. So I'm just going to clean this up a second. And that is right here, this little placer icon. If we drag this up here and we want to put a map in this location, I'm just going to click edit. And it says to paste this part of the embed code from Google Maps. So I can show you how to do that. If you go to Google Maps, here's a map of campus. I'm going to click share and then embed a map. And I get this code right up here. And I can say copy HTML, come back over here and hit paste. And you'll notice it says I only need this source equals code. I don't need this other stuff. So I'm actually going to delete some of this embed code, all the stuff we don't need, and I'm just putting that source code in there. And then I could specify a height if I want it, small, medium, or large. You can play around with that. For accessibility reasons, we'll need a brief description so screen readers can tell folks what this is. So I'm just going to say a Google map of Allendale campus and hit Save Changes. And then it'll embed a map here. So, well, I'm on a live site, so I don't know if I want to. We'll save it. Let's see. I can always roll back, and I will show you how to do that. So I tried to save actually, and it said I can't until I fix these errors. So the heading was blank. So I'm just going to get rid of that for now. And I'm going to hit publish. And that will save that page. And then I can, well, I guess I could have just hit preview draft too, but we can take a look at how that embeds. So there is the embedded map. So another thing is if you screw up a page like I just did or messed up a live page and I want to roll back, you can do that anytime. So this page is called What is Hierarchy? So I'm going to go back to content. I'm going to find this page. Let's see, probably on the second page here. And I'm still having trouble finding it actually. So what we could do is you can also just do a search at the top. So I'm just going to search for the word hierarchy and hit filter, and then it finds that page. So I put a map in it. I don't want it. So I can actually hit this little icon. It's called View History. So if I click that, I can actually view every version of this page that ever existed. So this is my change today on 420, but I want to roll it back to what it looked like maybe here. I don't know. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to hit preview and say, oh, yep, that is what I wanted it to look like. And you can actually hit restore here or on the page I previously was on, but I'm going to hit restore. It's going to say, are you sure? And then we roll back. So this is what it used to look like before I embedded that map. And then I can hit publish just to make sure that it gets saved like I wanted it to. And we have rolled back. Okay, now we're going to move on to forms. Just a couple things in Form Builder. When you're creating a form, or you've created one and you have responses, you can actually click those responses and export to in a spreadsheet, which you could do before, but now you can, if you've asked for a file to be uploaded into the form, so if you're asking for a resume or a photo, you couldn't actually export those in the spreadsheet before, and now you can. I'm going to flip over to another page, a form that actually asks for attachments, and now you can see I have export files right here at the top. Also, since we're on forms, forms now have a reminder and follow-up emails. So if I go and edit one of these, actually back, it's under the settings for the form. I can scroll down here and we get the thank you page and the email confirmation. But now I have the ability to send out a reminder email. So if I click yes here, I can set a date and a subject and email, and that can go out after, if this is an event, let's say, after the event has taken place. And if you want, oh, actually, sorry, this is a reminder email. So this first one, you can remind them maybe a few days before the event, and then this other one is a follow-up email. So if you want to do a survey or just say thank you after the event, then you can set a date and send an email then. All right, now we're going to talk about CMS 4.2, which will be rolling out this summer, and you don't have to do anything. Your site will just automatically be upgraded to this, and really what that means is nothing too much is going to change. You're just going to have a couple new features. So I want to show those. So this is what one of the pages looks like now in CMS 4.1. And after the upgrade to 4.2, it'll look like this. Not too much of a difference. We're just trying to fill in these spaces a little bit to show you what, how big an event's content might fill up or spotlight might fill up. You will notice that now there's an edit and a delete on each row, and that is because if you insert a new row, you actually have the ability to add multiple columns. So you can add 3 columns, which is our default now, or you can add 4 columns or 6 columns. And what that's going to look like is like this. If you look at the bottom here, you'll see Now you can do, instead of having 1/3 or 2/3 columns, this one in the middle here, the Twitter and Facebook are actually 50-50 split. And you can add new rows with 4 or 6 columns. And one question we get is that going to look funny on mobile devices? Yes and no. So what's going to happen is, if you have 4 columns or even 6 columns and you have content in every one of those, one, know that that's going to be pretty skinny content, even on a desktop. So just be careful of that, but know that once somebody looks at that on a phone, these 6 boxes will actually start stacking on top of each other. So I always remind people, when you're editing and creating content, I do this too, you tend to just look at it on a desktop. But you really should take a look at your content on phones. We're seeing a lot more traffic coming from phones. Some of your sites may even have more mobile traffic than they do desktop traffic, so always a good idea to see what that's going to look like on your phone. So if you put content, let's say, in one of these left 2 boxes, and you say something about referring to something on the right, that will not be the case on a phone. It'll actually float below it. So just be careful when creating content. And then just one other thing, we've made the editor box and these titles. This is just a sample of one of the modules that you can edit, one of the content chunks, sorry, that you can edit. We just made everything a little bit bigger so you can see a little bit more while you're working in it, before you had to scroll a little bit. And then we've divided modules up into categories. So if you have, 10 photo galleries, name something different, we're going to put it under that title photo gallery, just so you can organize, or just so you can see all your modules a little bit better, because it was getting a little unruly for sites that had a lot of modules. And that is all. Thanks for joining me. We'll try and post stuff like this more often. We'll put it on the web team site, but I'll also be sending this out to all CMS administrators. So thanks.